Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Big Lair here at Jack's Private Coffee Corner. I'm coming to you live from Nagoya, Japan. Today is February 21st. It's a Friday here. It's in the afternoon. I really wasn't planning on making this video. I had other things I wanted to do today. However, there's been some breaking news as far as I'm concerned with the coronavirus. And I've been waiting for this. I've got a list of things that I think are going to happen. And this is the first big one on my list that I've seen. So I thought I should talk about it. Now, I know this isn't anything to do with cryptos. I'm usually talking about cryptos, right? But, I'm here in Japan, and I'm not on the exact front lines of this coronavirus. I mean, that's China, right? But I think Japan is going to be the next front line of this virus for a number of reasons. Japan gets a huge number of tourists from China. A big part of Japan's domestic economy comes from tourism. Up until last year, South Korea and Chinese South Koreans and Chinese were two of the biggest tourist groups that came to Japan. But last year, some relations between South Korea and Japan kind of soured, and I won't go into why that was, but the number of flights and tourists from South Korea severely decreased last year. And I know some people who work in the tourism industry at quite high levels, so I was aware of this. And what was done then was people just redoubled their efforts and focused on China. Hey, we'll just increase tourism from China, and we'll make up for the numbers we're lacking with the South Koreans. And that's what was done. Unfortunately, this happens, the outbreak of the coronavirus in Wuhan. And if you're a Japanese person watching this, Wuhan is a bukang. You say bukang in Japanese, but in English we say Wuhan. Anyway, so the number of tourists has severely decreased. It's at nothing. It was trickling down. It was really getting squeezed down over the last couple of weeks, and now there's no tourists. And I'm near an international airport, and I'm well aware that there are a number of businesses around the airport that rely on tourism for their business, and they have no guests. Hotels are empty. Tour companies have, they've got all these buses, but no one to take anywhere. Restaurants are having a hard time. Just anything related to tourism, right? Not as many people are taking trains, and of course, airplanes and whatnot like that, taxis, and people aren't taking taxis. So has had a huge impact on the economy. Now, Japan's economy has not been doing well the way it is. And in my opinion, the economy has never fully recovered, not in any way, since the bubble burst in the late 80s, the very late 80s. I came in the early 90s, so I was able to see the start of that, the bubble burst, and things just declined ever since then. I was here in 93, beginning of 93, the first time. So I've been able to look at Japan over, 27 years. I've been able to see Japan over 27 years, and I'm married to a Japanese woman, so and I speak the language fluently, and of course my wife has relatives, so I get to speak to a large number of people. And for many years I was a teacher. I've taught at everything. I've taught at university, high school, junior high school, and elementary school, along with teaching at companies. I've taught a lot of executives. And I also do consulting work where I deal with executives on various issues. And I won't go into that. So I just have a huge network of people that I'm able to get information from. So when it comes to anything on Japan, I've got a pretty good handle on it because I'm here. I can see the newspaper, I can watch the news, I can understand the language. If I want to know something, I pretty much know who to call or who to get together with to get the answer if I can't find it on my own. Okay, so what's the breaking news here? Well, a lot of people have been making videos about the coronavirus, And there was a really, it was a video of someone I really like, Cliff High. He put a video out with Jay Snip 4 and Bix Weir, the Three Amigos thing about the coronavirus. And Cliff was talking about how it hasn't affected children. Now, I didn't agree with that, but I didn't say anything or I didn't comment anything anywhere. Number one, no one asked my opinion. But the other point is I had not confirmed myself yet that this was the case. Now, I've seen videos and I've heard from people who are in China say that children have died from this. Okay, children are being infected and they are dying. For whatever reason, it's not really in the media that's being put out from China. Now, here in Japan, I'm watching the news just 5 minutes ago. Japan confirmed 2 cases where children have the virus now. They didn't give too many details, but one of the kids is a little under 10 years old, and the other kid is older than 10 years old, both elementary school students. Well, a 6th grader would be 12 years old in Japan, right? They'd enter 6th grade being 11, and then they would turn 12, and now it's February, so more than likely the one who's over 10 is 11 or 12, either a 5th or a 6th grader, and the one who is under 10 is, from 1st to 4th grade. That's all we know. This is in Hokkaido, the northern island of Hokkaido, small town. These kids go to a school with about 200 students at the elementary school. Why is this breaking news? Well, because no one has been talking about kids. And one thing I've been really watching, like I said, I have a list of things that I'm waiting for because I've thought this out and I can see ahead to the future pretty much what's going to happen here. I'm a little smarter than the average bear. So I didn't want to come out though and say anything until I had, actually could confirm this. So 2 kids have this. They're not sure how they got it. Now someone else in their family also has it, probably a parent. Was this parent someone on the cruise, that Diamond Princess cruise? Who knows? There were until this whole thing got started, a gazillion tourists that used to flood into Hokkaido every winter. Why? Because Hokkaido has fabulous skiing, lots of resorts, lots of open air baths where you can, sit out in this, the hot water and then look at the snow, whatever, right? I mean, Hokkaido is a beautiful place. If you've ever been to Wisconsin or Minnesota in America, I'm from Wisconsin actually, that's pretty much what Hokkaido looks like. It's a lot of dairy farms, a lot of huge farms actually. Just beautiful rolling hills, right? Very cold. Not as cold as Wisconsin, but, quite cold and lots of snow. Beautiful powder snow, right? So they've confirmed this now. 2 kids have the coronavirus. Okay, question number 1. Then what happens to all of the kids at the elementary school? Do you close down the elementary school? You sure as heck don't want those kids, now if you're a parent, you're like, holy crap, what do I do? My kid could have it. A few days ago, actually 2 days ago, it was Wednesday. On Wednesday, I was watching the news here in Japan, and there's a Mr. Kato. I believe his title is the Minister of Health. If I translate it into English, I believe he's the Minister of Health, Mr. Kato. That guy's got a tough job now. Oh man. Anyway, it wasn't him speaking, but it was 2 other people speaking, I believe on his behalf or on behalf of the Ministry of Health, and they were saying they think the coronavirus is spread through the air. Up until recently, they thought, you had to touch something that had the virus and then you get it in your eyes or your mouth or whatever. But now they're thinking it's, I think they used the word aerosolized. But basically, if we're all in a room together and I have the virus and I'm breathing, you could breathe in the same air as me and get the virus. That's what they were saying. So that's kind of a game changer too, right? And maybe, other people already have said this and, knew this. But in Japan, no one had officially come out and said this until 2 days ago. Now, why is this important? Well, number 1, so I'm not in China, but I'm in Japan. So I'm going to say I'm on the second front line of this virus here. So, you guys should, pay attention to what I'm telling you, because what I'm telling you more than likely will happen in the future wherever you are. If you're in America somewhere, Europe, other countries in Asia, what happens here, it's going to be like how can I say it, a preview. What happens here will be a preview of what's going to happen where you are. So, if you listen to what I'm saying and, take some precautions, hopefully, you'll save yourself or someone, from getting this darn thing. And, because, it's not going to be any fun at all, right? So I've got 3 kids. I've got 3 boys. Now, one of my oldest son, he's out of school. My other 2 kids are in school. Something else I should note, the school year in Japan is not like America or other countries. In America, I think the school year starts when? The end of August, beginning of September, and then it finishes like the beginning of June or something, right? In Japan, the school year starts in April, the beginning of April, and it ends about the middle of March, okay? So now, this virus, as it's just starting to spread here in Japan, and I don't think we'll know the extent of it for probably a few more weeks, right? Really how much it spread. So from now, all of these schools are going to be having graduation ceremonies. Now, in America, the only graduation ceremony I attended was when I was a high school student. In Japan, it's different. If you're a 6th grader, you're leaving, and you graduate, you finish the 6th grade, you're moving to junior high school in April, right? So in Japan, elementary schools will have a graduation ceremony for the 6th graders. In junior high school in Japan is 3 years, and high school is 3 years, right? So they go to school the same amount of years as we do in America, but they just split it up a little differently, maybe. So they have a graduation ceremony for elementary school, and they have a graduation ceremony for junior high school and high school, right? So my youngest son, he's not a 6th grader yet. He's pretty close. So we will not be attending a graduation ceremony at his school. However, I think my son has to attend something during the day, like where everyone gets together. And my middle son, he's going to be graduating junior high school. So there will be a ceremony March 3rd where there's going to be how many kids in his class? Probably, oh boy, it's over 200 kids just in his grade. And then if you could include all the parents, I think one time we went to an event, there were about 800 people in total, including the students, right? That's a lot of people to be packing in a place. Now, maybe some of you haven't seen my previous videos about Japan and how unhygienic some places are here. I'll just give you a little, tell you a little bit about it. If you go to the schools here, there's no hot water, absolutely no hot water. You'll have cold water or just normal tap water. I don't know what you want to call it. And most places do not have soap. Most of the schools have no soap anywhere. No soap anywhere. If you're lucky, the bathrooms will have toilet paper. If you're lucky. Not always. And after you wash your hands, there are no paper towels. Forget about paper towels. And my son, was complaining because, hey, there's no soap at his school. Well, then someone, I don't know, brought a bar of soap or did something. And then, of course, if one person brings the soap, then everybody wants to use it because, everybody wants to use soap, but there isn't any normally. So if you bring a bar of soap, it's gone within a few days. And then so that ended pretty quickly. So just imagine these kids are in a situation. The same with my son in elementary school. There's no soap. I mean, I've been to their schools before. I've used the bathroom. I've been like, what the hell? No soap? You guys, okay, no paper towels. I'm used to that. That's Japan. Everyone carries a handkerchief, right? No paper towels. Okay, what can you do? But no soap, come on. And some of the bathrooms are pretty filthy. And the other thing is, at schools in Japan, there is no cleaning person. They don't have a janitor. Who cleans the school? The kids clean the school. Yes. Yes, the kids are put into teams and told they have to clean certain areas. Well, you can imagine how well the bathrooms get cleaned because no one wants to clean the bathroom. And unfortunately, at my youngest son's school, it's pretty disgusting. It's pretty disgusting, you know. And it's not like, you know, if you were the janitor, you'd have rubber gloves and proper cleaning, you know, supplies. They don't have that here. It's completely different. So you're already in an environment where it's a little sketchy as far as hygiene goes. And then now they're going to put you, you know, in an auditorium. And, you know, then none of the rooms are heated either, I should say that. I think they finally put air conditioners in some of the rooms because last summer it was so hot. There were lots of kids who got sick and a few who died from heat exhaustion. So then everyone kind of panicked and said, oh, we've got to put air conditioners in their rooms. And my middle son did tell me they had a kerosene heater in their classroom. But, you know, the smell of kerosene, that's a horrible smell, you know, and that can gas you out. So you have to keep a window open if you're going to use a kerosene heater, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a heater. So anyway, you know, maybe you think I'm going on a rant here, but I'm just trying to give you the situation of how it is on the ground here in Japan. So there's going to be this ceremony on March 3rd. About 800 people are going to go. And I've already told you that, you know, there's no soap, there's no paper towels, sometimes no toilet paper, and people are used to this. All right? Now, as an American, I've gotten used to it because I've lived in Malaysia, and some places in Malaysia were even, you know, sketchier than this. However, you know, I have a high level of hygiene for myself and my family, and that's what, you know, I expected. I wouldn't use a bathroom if it didn't have certain things. So, you know, you've got a society where this is normal. You've got a society where this is normal. And they come on TV and they say, well, the best way to keep yourself safe from the coronavirus is to wash your hands, to gargle, and wear a face mask. Yeah. Wash your hands, gargle, and wear a face mask. Well, if I wash my hands anywhere in public, there's no soap. You're not going to kill any germs. All right? And gargling? Are you serious? Does anybody gargle anymore? Is that really going to do anything? And then a face mask. Now, I've seen the face masks here. I've never worn the face masks. And a lot of face masks, you know, have gaps in them, especially between the nose and where it meets your cheeks and sometimes around by your mouth. So you've got a mask with gaps, and most people that I've seen wear a mask, there are gaps. And that's not, if the virus is airborne, it's not going to help you, right? You could still get it. So, okay, now, if there are Japanese people watching this, they may get upset and say, oh, I'm bashing Japan. No, I'm not bashing Japan. I like Japan as much as you do, maybe even more, because I'm married to a Japanese woman and I've got 3 kids. I've run my own business here, and I've studied Japanese art extensively. And in fact, I normally, when I meet people and discuss Japanese culture or art or history, I often know more than the people I'm talking to who are Japanese. So if anyone wants to give me any crap about, oh, you don't like Japan, I'd say, number one, you're wrong, and I'll prove it to you. We'll just meet up on Skype and talk. And number two, like, just get over it, you know? Why can't you take criticism of something? When you like things, you criticize it, right? So I like America, but I criticize America. Why? Because I like it and I want to see it get better, right? Same with Japan. I like Japan. If something's not right, I'm going to complain about it because I want to see it get better. Okay, so that's that. So we're not the only ones who are going to, you know, my family, we're not the only ones who have to decide now, are we going to go to this graduation ceremony? There are so many schools in Japan, you can't believe it. And so many people are going to be in the same situation. And not only that, so there's a graduation ceremony, but then there's an entrance ceremony every April. So they have the graduation ceremony in March, and then beginning of April, you got to go back to school for your kid entering the next grade. They have this entrance ceremony where everyone has to go, like in an auditorium or a gymnasium, and sit on the floor or whatever, and you know, listen to a bunch of people talk about crap you don't want to hear, just to say, hey, we had this ceremony that, you know, welcomed everyone to the new year. So, you know, there's a double whammy here. There's 2 chances to meet a lot of people with the infection. And I've already talked with my wife and said, you know, we're going to have to make a decision before April. And that decision is going to be, do we send our kids to school or not? Now, my middle son, we've already decided, because he's going to move on to high school, we're going to have him do an online study course. I've been an educator for over 20 years. I'm very well versed in the Japanese education system, the Malaysian education system, and of course I understand the American education system because I went through it. And the education system in Japan is failing, in my opinion. It's severely failing. I think it is in America also, but I haven't been in America for over 20 years, so I'm only working on anecdotal information from friends and former colleagues. But the education system in Japan is failing. It's really behind. They're still teaching the same thing they taught 40 years ago. They haven't updated very many things at all. So we've chosen for my son to do an online study course, which will let him pick, all of these, amazing subjects that you wouldn't get in a normal school, a normal public school. So then my youngest son, what do? Do we put him in school? And that's a whole nother ball of wax, being a non-Japanese. I mean, my son's half Japanese, but in Japan, many Japanese are prejudiced against kids or people who are half Japanese. Now with me, I'm look at me, obviously I'm not any Japanese, I'm 100% American. But so I don't get too much crap, right? Because I'm already an adult and I'm out in society working, and some of the reasons I get hired for jobs is because of my white skin and who I am and what I know. But for school, there's a lot of prejudice, even from teachers. They'll give kids a hard time. I've seen it. I've heard stories from both of my kids, things that people have said to them. My middle son, he's had really good teachers, I'll have to admit that. My younger son had a great teacher last year. This year, I'm not so sure. And some of the other teachers he has for, not just his homeroom teacher, but other subjects, they sound pretty sketchy and very negative. Very negative. Which is why my middle son is not going to go to high school next year. Anyway, so the decision is do we send our son to school in April, our youngest son? And it has nothing to do with the quality of education. I would have no problem debating the fact that I think the education that he's getting is substandard. But the issue is going to be, do I want to expose him to the potential that he could get the virus, right? So this is something all of you, watching this, you should really think about what I'm saying here, because this more than likely, will be coming to where you are. Hopefully, right? I mean, the Diamond Princess, they took how many? What is it? Over 300 American passengers back to America, and before they flew, the State Department said we will not let anyone on the plane if we think they have the virus. But before everyone took off, they realized, 14 people tested positive for the virus. What do? The CDC said don't let those people fly. The State Department overruled it and said, no, we're going to do it. We think we have proper quarantine measures available on the plane. However, if this is an airborne, if you can get this just from breathing the air that everyone else is breathing, if that's true, then those measures, failed. And then the people on the plane didn't find out until they landed that, holy shit, we were on the plane with 14 people who are potentially infected. How would that make you feel? You're on this cruise ship, you're like in this petri dish of the coronavirus, and you finally get out, you're virus free. You get on the plane to go back to America and you're thinking, whoa, dodge that bullet. What a great one. You get off the plane, your relatives say, whoa, you guys were on the plane with other people with the coronavirus. You're like, what? So, and I've talked about this kind of stuff before. When you're in government, you got to, being a government official, we can make fun of people in government and say how stupid they are, incompetent they are, all this stuff. But I actually know people in governments around the world and know them on a personal basis, right? And I've heard some of the, what can I say? I've had private conversations with them about their jobs. Being a government official and a politician, there's so many things you don't know about the job. There's so many things. I can't imagine, having some of these jobs and all the people you're in charge. you're responsible for a lot. You've got a lot of people underneath you that you're counting on to do certain things, and in the end, the buck stops with you, kind of, sort of thing, right? So it's very, very tough. And so I'm not going to criticize anybody in government or the State Department. I mean, we can sit here and say, oh, that was a bad choice, this and that. But, I'm not that person, whoever it was that made the final decision. And, so I'm not going to have that karma, hanging over me if it goes, haywire, right? But anyway, all I know is that being in government and having a position like that is so overwhelming, so overwhelming. I've been in positions where I've been in charge of, a number of people over, like 1/3 of a country. And I've had projects where people were in 3 different countries, and I've got to keep track of all this stuff. And that's just me, being in a company doing this. I can't imagine, being in charge of a whole country or something, like America, this huge, huge country, and trying to make decisions, and basically it comes down to what's the best decision. And the best decision might not be the best for everybody, right? So that's all I'll say about that. So what I want you guys to really get from this is that I feel a little funny because I normally talk about cryptos, and I'd never wanted to get into this kind of stuff really, but it just keeps creeping in, and I think it's important, And I, normally in my videos I say, hey, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, this and that. But more than that, I would really like you just to share this video with people because probably a lot of people aren't taking this seriously, right? Aren't taking it seriously. I was on the train yesterday, and I take trains a lot, and I hadn't been on the trains for about 4 or 5 days, I think it was. There's for my work, I travel a lot on trains because Japan has a fantastic train system. It's way more efficient than driving your car. You don't deal with traffic. You don't deal with parking. Bada bing, bada boom, you're there. So I'm on a train, and I realized the train was like half full. And if you take the train, if anyone lives in a big city and you take the train every day or, every Thursday or every Monday or whatever it is, that pretty much you'll see the same people on the same train. Like if you catch like I'm catching I'll just make something up here. I'm catching the 7:31 train to wherever. And I know when I get to the station that I'll sit in the seat I normally sit in if it's not too busy. And then, looking across from me will be that person. Oh, there's that lady. Hey, there's that guy over there. Look to my right. Yeah, that's those high school kids. And look over here. You know who's on the train every day because they're taking the same train as you. And when you're waiting for the train, it's the same thing. You get to the station at about the same time because you know your train time. If you miss it, you're in trouble, right? But you know the train time before yours, and you know the one after you, just in case you do miss it, right? You give yourself a little bit of leeway. So when you're waiting for the train, you see the same people. At least I do here in Japan. I can tell you, man, I could give you details about 20 different people that I see all the time on the train. Like the girl who stands in front of me, who I think is half Brazilian, half Japanese. She's got a Marvel backpack. She's got a smaller bag that has a Batman symbol on it. She listens to her cell phone, which is an Android with headphones, and she likes to watch videos. She's got long hair, and she usually wears pink Nikes, right? And then there's a lady who stands to the right of me. She's really, really short. She's like 5 foot tall, wears these super high-heeled boots, a long coat, has her hair done perfectly, makeup done perfectly. She's probably around my age, around 50. Then there's 3 high school kids who stand behind me. They play a game on their phone, one of these, RPG games or whatever. And the one kid's got a really deep voice, right? And then there's another guy who always wears a gray suit, which is not common in Japan. He always wears a gray suit, has the same bag. He wears glasses, but when he looks at his cell phone, he doesn't need his glasses, right? You're on the train every day with the same people. You notice this kind of stuff, right? So I get on the train yesterday. Holy mackerel, like the trains I'm on, half the people are not there. Even on the platform when I'm waiting for the second train, because I took 3 trains yesterday. Whoa, there's people missing. What's going on? It must be the coronavirus. And I've heard a lot of companies are telling their workers, okay, don't take the train, work from home. I talked with a couple taxi drivers. They're all wearing masks. Whenever like a customer gets out of their taxi, they got to stop and wipe everything down with these alcohol wipes. So, and it's funny because the news is only, 2 people have died so far in Japan. A lady who was, I think, 80? It was a guy and a woman. One of them was 84, one was 87. One died of pneumonia, I believe one died of heart failure, both from the coronavirus. Those were the first 2 that died. And so you could say, well, only 2 people have died, but there's people in almost every prefecture who are infected. And this is the best one. So not that many people have died, sorry, but people are taking it seriously. So I'm glad to see that. And then the people who were taken off this Diamond Princess cruise ship, they were sent to a hospital. Where was the hospital that they were sent? It's 23 kilometers from where I live. That's like 16 miles from my house. They were sent to this new hospital there. Oh, it's right across from an elementary school. Hey, isn't that great? I was really shocked. I saw the news. Where are they sending these people? Oh, they're sending them to Okazaki City in Aichi Prefecture. Holy crap, are you kidding me? One of the trains I take goes right through Okazaki City. There's a big station there. So it's like, man. So I'm wondering, how long will I be able to go to work? How long will I be able to go to work? When will it come to the point where I get on the train one day and I'm the only guy, or I get a call from my company saying, hey, stay home, man, stay home. So anyway, this is a little long, sorry about that. I think it's really important though, this breaking news that, kids were infected. I think in China there's a lot of kids that are infected. I just simply think the information is being hidden. I have seen videos that people have sent me that shows kids who have died and they're being put in body bags. And I would guess, they're just being, also burned, right? Yeah, so lots of horrible stuff. I hope all of you guys stay safe. Take what you can from this video, the information I've given you. Get mentally prepared for this, okay? That's one of the toughest things, is to mentally prepare yourself. One thing about being mentally prepared, let me just digress a little bit here. I've known some really good martial artists in my life, like just top-notch, super deadly people. And one was a really good friend of mine. And he was a knife guy. Now, I love knives too. I love knives. I don't know what it is about knives, right? And I remember he was training me. He was showing me some stuff with knives. And this guy had a lot of real world experience. He had about 30 years of real world, real combat, experience. Like, wars and whatnot. I won't get into what he did, but anyway, so he was showing me some stuff with a knife, and then he said to me, wait. He said, before this, he said, I got to ask you something. He says, are you prepared to stab and kill somebody with this knife if you had to? And it kind of took me back. And he said to me that, in his experience, and this guy had a lot of experience all over the world, doing various just, jobs that a soldier of fortune would do, or a hired gun, so to speak. And he said he saw a lot of good guys die because when it came down to it, and that knife was in their hands, or the gun was in their hands, and all they had to do was pull the trigger or stab somebody, they weren't able to do it. In that moment of hesitation, they got killed. So he said to me, don't ever carry a knife if you're not willing to pull that knife out and stab someone to death with it. Stab them or slit their throat or whatever. Now that may sound really morbid, but that is mental preparation. Mental preparation. So I had to make a decision, am I going to carry a knife? If I do carry a knife, if I do put that knife in my pocket, I've already decided that if If it comes down to it, I will pull it out and do what I need to do. And the same with a gun. Now, I'm in, for the last 20 some years, I've been in Asia. You can't have guns in Asia, especially Japan or Malaysia. So I don't have a gun. But if I moved back to America and if I decided to carry a gun, I would have to make that decision. Like, yes, I will pull this out and shoot someone if that's what it comes down to. And if I can't make that decision, then I won't carry a gun. I also met a guy, trying to think of where he was from, the Ukraine. This guy spoke like 7 different languages. Just an amazing guy that I met here in Japan. And we were talking about preparing for earthquakes and all the food you would need and this and that. And, he had a really tough life in the Ukraine, really tough life. And, and he said to me, he said, how will you handle, he said, okay, Larry, you've got, we've talked about this and, I know you've got all this food and water for your family. He said, what are you going to do if something happens, like a big earthquake, and no one's able to get food for a couple months, and your neighbors find out you have food and they come to your house and ask you for food? What are you going to do? And I said, oh man, I never thought of that. And he said, you got to decide that. He said, if you stocking this food means nothing if you haven't already decided that. And I didn't even think of anything like that. And he was telling me, some examples of growing up in the Ukraine and how tough things were. And his father stockpiled certain things. And his father told everyone in the family that, I made this decision that we have these things, and if anyone comes and asks for them, I will turn them away. And I'll tell them to leave. And if anyone comes back to try and take our stuff, I will kill them. And he said, and I want you guys to, if I'm not here, you refuse. And he said he was, like kind of scared because he was a kid when his father told him this. But hey, tough times create tough people, right? So he said to me, if I learned one thing from my father, it was to be mentally prepared. So then I made the decision, okay, well, what's more important, my family's welfare or the welfare of all of my neighbors and my family? I got to be honest with you. I'm only watching out for myself, my wife, and my 3 kids. If anyone came and said, hey, we know you have rice or we know you have that, can we get some? I'm going to say, sorry, nope. You had a chance to prepare. You didn't take it. I prepared. Get out of here. And I may not be that harsh about it, but that's mental preparedness. So what I want you guys to do, watching this video, I hope I don't sound too harsh, but you may have to make some tough decisions, and that would be about your kids, right? Like and it may be about your life. How is your life going to change if this virus really spreads? Hopefully it won't. Some people like, Cliff High and others think it will not spread so bad in America. Who knows? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I never thought something like this would happen. There were various things over the years, and people talked about the government doing this and that to depopulate, whatever country. I never thought it would happen. Here it is. It's on our doorstep. Doesn't matter how it happened. Doesn't matter if it was done on purpose, if it was done on accident. It's here now. So I would just say, mentally prepare yourself. What are you going to do with your kids if you think there's a chance someone at their school may have it? What are you going to do? Get ready for those decisions, okay? Sorry, this is a really heavy video, but seeing this news story, now I don't know how long I've been talking, 30 some minutes. Seeing this news story about 40 minutes ago made me say to myself, man, I've got to get this out. Okay, you guys take care. If I have any other news, I will put it here on YouTube. Like I said, if you think someone will benefit from this video, please share the video. Please give me a like if you can. That really helps me out. With the YouTube algorithm. I don't know what YouTube's going to do with this because I'll have coronavirus in the title or something like that. Maybe I'll have to name it something different. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'll try to keep you guys up to date on what's happening here in Japan, and hopefully this won't be a big thing at all, but I hate to say I think it's going to be. Okay, everyone, you take care and stay safe.